OK, let's talk about the budget now, and to kick that off, we'll listen again to Wayne Swan from the Nine Network this morning.
Now, I want you to channel Paul Keating. He used to give us pithy descriptions of his budgets. For example, he said this is the budget that'll bring home the bacon. Give us a Keating-type headline summary of your budget.
Well, this budget will get us back in the black, get more Australians into jobs and spread the opportunity of the boom.
Back in the black, Nikki. Sound familiar?
Very familiar. If you think back to 1998 when Peter Costello was Treasurer, that was the headline after his 98 budget, back in the black.
I can't believe Costello was ever in the red.
Well, it was never his fault that we were in the red. It was always
that was John Howard's fault. 2001, they went into deficit to save the government.
Well, there are a lot of reasons for that, George, including the Reserve Bank putting up interest rates when they said that they would look through the GST inflation effect, and they didn't.
They're still raising them when the economy was going backwards.
So there was a lot going on.
So what's the test, Brian? How will the government be judged on this budget?
Well, I think that in some ways talking about a tough budget is a silly thing, which was what they've been doing. The key to the budget is whether it's got good decisions that actually help improve the productive base of the economy, but also cuts away welfare spending to people who can easily afford to pay for themselves, and then you can still deliver the budget surplus on time, but you're actually using the budget to do something worthwhile for the economy, particularly in the education and skills area, which Julia Gillard keeps talking about. But there, funding for universities is projected to fall well below, as a share of GDP, well below the average of other advanced countries. Money spending per student has fallen by a third since 1994. Things like, I reread a speech the other day that Julia Gillard gave in March 2009 as Education Minister, where she was slamming the terrible increase that had occurred in the student-staff ratio. But that will continue to go up because they've got a plan to increase tremendously the number of graduates from Australian universities, but they're not putting the funding in place to back things like the student.
Just go back to that one point. You say they've got to take away some welfare where it's not really needed. Is there any sense that that's coming? There's that one HEX initiative where they'll be halving the discount if you pay up front.
Well, that's
anything
not
else?
really a welfare thing. Look, the big welfare things are not in unemployment benefits, new starters at school. It only costs about $6 billion a year. The big ones are budget subsidies for retirement incomes through both superannuation and the age pension, which within a couple of years will be over $80 billion a year. And a lot of that money goes to people who could easily afford to look after themselves. For example, in the case of...
But there's no sense that this is coming up in the budget. I'm just saying, is there anything...
I mean, we talk about electoral suicide, and the government's been practising every form of it in the last couple of years, but knocking off people's super concessions or...
You can actually means test these things. If you don't properly means test these things, you will never, ever find the money that you need to spend on things that help the productive base of the economy and bring you back into surplus. You'll never have money for sovereign wealth funds or whatever people are talking about if you don't control the growth in welfare spending to well-off people. And family allowances, the same applies there.
I just suspect, though, you've missed the theme of the budget here, Brian.
Their theme is that it's supposed to be a tough budget.
It's welfare to work. It's not,
welfare to work and
removing welfare.